stops us in our tracks. Bravely we prove in our striving, trudging together each day. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Raw Recovery, a Trudging Together podcast. Today, we have a real special guest in studio. I have Mandi M, and Mandi is in several different recoveries, which I will let her, I can't remember them all, so I'm going to let her tell which one she is, and I'm going to turn the show over to Mandi.
Thanks so much, Gary. Thanks for letting me be here. I'm excited. As you said, my name's Mandi, and I usually introduce myself as a recovering adult child because my main recovery program right now is adult children of alcoholics. But I started in Alnon, and I've done CODA and Emotions Anonymous. And I'm also really enjoying open AA meetings right now. So it's been really an adventure. I like to be all-inclusive. I can learn so much about the different programs by venturing out into all of them and meeting those people. So I'll tell a little bit about myself. I'm a Canadian living in the U.S. I grew up in a small town in Ontario, Canada, with a family business, actually. My grandfather and his brother started a lodge. They bought a piece of land in their 30s, and they built cabins. My grandfather wanted to run a fishing lodge. So they built cabins and they rented out boats, and people stayed and they vacationed there with their families. And we lived on a river, so it was really beautiful. It was a nice place to grow up in the country. And so they ran it together, and then my dad and his brother took it over. So my grandparents, who never drank or did drugs or any kind of, they were really hardworking, and lots of everything they made went back into the business. But they brought up two alcoholic boys, my dad and his brother. So they were, which is kind of funny, but so my dad and his brother are alcoholics, and they run the business together. And my dad got married to my mom when he was really young. My mom was 16, and my dad was 20. They had 4 kids. I'm the oldest of 4. So we grew up there on the lodge property. It was like 11 acres on a lake. It was beautiful, just a beautiful place to grow up. People vacationing all summer long, and swimming and boating, and yeah, lots of fun, lots of drinking, lots of partying. My dad was
like a typical vacation spot.
Yeah, exactly, right. And my dad was actually a musician too. Him and his two brother-in-laws, my mom's 2 brothers, they were in a band together. So in high school they played. So I grew up with a band in the basement. They practiced all the time, so lots of parties all summer long. And when we were kids, lots of people partying around us. It was a lot of fun. It was fun. But it was a very dysfunctional house because my dad was an alcoholic and my mom was, I guess, a rageaholic maybe, or, she grew up with an alcoholic father. Her dad's from the islands, so they all from like the Caribbean. He immigrated up here in his 30s. So she grew up with an alcoholic father, and she's got 3 younger brothers. So she's the oldest of 4, just like I am. And so she had an alcoholic father, then she married an alcoholic and tried to control him and, fix him and all the fun stuff that we all do because, hey, I grew up and I'm married an alcoholic. But I mean, when I was a child, I had a lot of dysfunction. My dad's cousin would babysit me, and he would molest me and sexually abuse me. And, eventually we took him to court because he broke into our house and he would steal things. He was in with a bad crowd. He did a lot of drugs, and, he was really messed up, which is no excuse, but, this is life, right? And,
right.
It was, I kind of didn't really talk about it until it came out, and then I had to talk about it. Like my first boyfriend, also, I was 13 and he was 17. I mean, my parents let me date a 17-year-old when I was 13.
Wow.
What are they thinking? I was still playing Barbies at the time, right? And this 17-year-old who drinks and he's so cool and he's so cute. And no, it was, another, against my will, sexually speaking, and abusive, forcing me to tell him I love him and yelling at me and hitting me eventually. Like I was just a little kid,
Right.
And I didn't really have anyone to go to or talk to. And when that all came out, I mean, my parents, they were mortified that this happened and they allowed it to happen, especially my father. He couldn't deal with it. He sank into a depression almost, and he drank more, and, he wouldn't talk to me about it. So I felt like I did something bad. I thought,
right,
my dad's mad at me because I didn't do what I was supposed to do. And I didn't even know what I was supposed to do at that time because I didn't have anyone to go to. My mom thought I was lying, and it was really, I don't know if she was just jealous or I had the attention because the attention was taken off of her. She loved having all the attention, that was, everybody loved my mom. Everyone fell in love with her who met her. She was a beautiful woman. She's been passed on for about 20 years now, but I had an over sense of responsibility. I had 3 younger siblings. I had to deal with this heavy stuff that I didn't know how to deal with. I also grew up, I was bullied all through grade school. I was bullied. My dad would have to come and get me at least once a week because I was crying so much I couldn't go back to class. The kids were just so cruel, calling me names and throwing things at me and making fun of me because I was a little different, I liked to wear different clothes. I liked to do my hair differently. I don't, and my mom would, don't wear that and you have to wear this. And I just felt like I couldn't be myself. I always had to be what everybody else expected me to be. Look after your siblings and ignore that you were molested. It's gone. Sweep it under the rug. We don't need to talk about it. But as we all know, we need to talk about these things and heal them and move through them and let them go properly,
Right. That's really difficult to do. I get that.
Especially if you have nobody telling you need to do this or resources around you. Because, I see now that my mom was hurting from things that happened in her past, growing up with an alcoholic father as well. Who knows what that household was like? So she was, not in recovery. I would love to have shared recovery with her. I think she could have benefited a lot. I wonder if she loved herself that much. Because I didn't realize how much I didn't love myself till I came to recovery. And it was painful to realize because I'm a lovable person. Everybody loves me, kind of thing.
Right.
That is my
exactly right.
But I didn't love me, and that's somebody even said that to me at a meeting this morning. They listen to me and they're like, "You care about this person, you care about your kids, you give so much to everybody else. Well, what are you giving to yourself?" And it's like, yes, I have to give to myself. I have to remember that. So growing up, I was bullied all through school, even a teacher bullied me, which, oh my gosh, and hey, not everyone's in the right profession, right? All those customer service people that speak great English, But I endured years.
That happens.
Yeah, I know, right? So I have a fear of authority figures or people that are were critical of me or bullied other people. A fear of bullies, really. And very sensitive to criticism, very sensitive. But, I could go on and on about more sexual abuse that happened throughout my life. And I don't know if it's because it wasn't talked about or that I didn't feel like I did something to fix myself. I felt like I was broken, I guess. So that's the only way I'm going to get treated, or that's the only way I'm going to get intimacy or love. I know now, of course, through the years, I went to years of therapy and just research on my own and tried medication and all sorts of different things to try and fix myself, But there was nothing wrong with me. I was hurt and I had PTSD and I had to just, learn how to accept it. It did happen and it's nothing I did. There's nothing I could have done differently that it wouldn't happen. And in a way, I'm thankful because I learned from all these things and I could teach my children. Like the best part about being in in recovery is I can teach my children how to break these patterns that I've seen happen for generation after generation. And I've seen the dysfunction. I can see it now from, from this perspective. When I was in it, I couldn't,
Well, you never could see it when you're in the middle of it.
Never. I mean, even now that I'm in recovery on a dark day, I have to reach out because I can't see the light through the darkness. But I know I can reach out to someone in recovery and they will get me. They will, yeah, exactly. They will shine their beacon on me. They will, let me borrow their higher power for a day or whatever I need to shine myself back up, or just go through that cloud not alone. If it's a cloudy day, it's a cloudy day. I can accept that. I just don't want to fall deeper and deeper, into the darkness because it's so easy. I mean, I was depressed and suicidal in high school. I attempted suicide. I felt so alone. I had no one, nobody.
Yeah.
And every person I went to, it felt like they just wanted to use me. And because I didn't put out in high school, I was shunned. I was, the cold fish. Oh, don't invite her. She won't, go along with the crowd.
Mm-hmm. Right. And me, it was the same. I didn't drink in high school.
I didn't,
And so I was considered an outcast.
Exactly.
I ate, but I didn't drink.
The 2 times that I did drink, there were rumors for years about what a slut I was, or, I can't have my liquor. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I got drunk twice in high school and that's it. And now I'm an alcoholic, right?
That's all it takes, right?
Yep. And same with, I wouldn't sleep around. So, I'm a big slut, well, and it shows. I've learned people express themselves. They're talking more about themselves than they're talking about you,
Right.
Deep down. But I mean, it just seemed to follow me because every single time I was engaged for 4 years and the guy's stepdad hit on me and I was afraid. I was afraid of him and I can't believe it happened. And it just took, and he was an alcoholic, the one I was engaged to. So every boyfriend I had was an alcoholic or a drug addict. It was like that pattern. You just repeated it over and over again. And I felt a lot of guilt and shame, I'm so thankful for recovery because I am living a better life. I'm living a better way. I mean, one of my best friends in my 20s, her husband hit on me and climbed into bed with me while I was in their house. Like,
oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. Like and I can't even believe I let it happen because when it was happening, I was just so scared and my, fight or flight, I freeze up and and it happened and then I just stopped going to her house and I couldn't even tell her. And I still to this day, I've not told her, and here I am spilling my guts here, but.
If she listens to this, that maybe.
You know what I mean? But I mean, this is stuff that happens and we don't talk about it and we really should because it's not right. And I don't have to put up with it anymore. I didn't love myself enough. I really didn't. I thought that, am I someone's garbage? Am I someone's, leftovers or why can't I have a voice?
A lot of my story.
Well, and then I get married. I get married to an alcoholic. And, he was a binge drinker. And I mean, hey, when we met, we both partied. We were single, no kids, working, and we just had a good time. And, I moved to another country. I'm from Canada. I grew up in Canada. He's from the States. He got transferred down to Alabama. And I said, okay, well, why not? Let's go. I've never been to Alabama. We talked about getting married because we were so in love and we had a good time. We were really great friends. It was really good for a long time. It was. But the drinking got worse, and my depression got worse. And so, I mean, those things together, and I mean, I made it worse. I did. I played my part very well, mind you. I deserve a treat.
Of course. You do everything perfectly.
Definitely. I was hell. I became my mother. I was a rageaholic and I would control and I would, try and have expectations and all the things that never worked. And that's why I came to Alnon because nothing was working. My marriage was falling apart. I had 3 kids to take care of. I was miserable. Everybody was miserable. And we had that happiness. That's why, we were in love. We loved each other at some point. So what happened? So I walked into Alnon. And it was great. It was wonderful. I felt at home. I felt this is the thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, it was very overwhelming. I walk in the room and there's like the wall of the 12 steps and the wall of the traditions and the wall of the I'm like, okay, I'm just going to ignore these things right now because this is too much. And I'm going to sit and listen. And I sat and listened and I just listened and listened and I was happy. And I came back. And the second meeting, I think I just cried the whole time. I just cried and cried and cried and cried and cried. I just couldn't stop crying. And I wish I could have kept coming back, but I had young kids and the daycare and school, and I had so much responsibility because I couldn't depend on my husband at the time.
Right.
It was very undependable. I had to, but I still was losing my mind too. I was crazy. I contribute to the chaos and poor children.
Well, yeah.
I made the right decision because Alnon saved my life and, in turn saved my children's lives because
and in turn, you're helping save other people's lives too.
Well, that's the thing, right? Because honestly, since my 20s, I'd never thought about suicide or any of that stuff. I had conquered that. And when it got down to the deep, dirty, nitty gritty, I had to call someone who had also been through that. And I'm like, I'm not thinking about doing anything, but I'm so unhappy and everything is so miserable. I just don't want to be alive anymore. It wasn't that I wanted to kill myself. I just didn't want to live this life anymore.
Right.
And I knew things had to change and I had to change it. So I just didn't realize that I didn't have to change him. I can't change other people. And that was the most wonderful thing to realize. I'm powerless. Step one, right? I am powerless.
And that's probably the hardest step. That and also just walking in the door and or in my case, clicking on the link for a Zoom meeting.
Well, I mean, thank goodness for online. Thank goodness for online because I would have been lost. I couldn't go to face-to-faces. I couldn't get out of the house. I mean, I got out when I had to, but they didn't have a meeting at that time. I was on the phone. I was on the phone every 2 hours on a meeting, every 2 hours, just even listening. And I jumped into service right away because that's easy for me. I just, I'll chair. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do this. I'll read. I'll do whatever, I do
the same thing.
And that's how you learn, really. I mean, that's how I learned the 12 steps really well. Over and over again, I went to this one set of meetings, Let It Begin With Me, and they do the 12 steps over like 2 nights or so, 2 or 3 nights or something, or it's, so many hours, a whole day. And they just run through them really quickly. So I did that a few times to get to know them because I'm like, I don't need a sponsor. I don't know what that is. That's for AA people, right? But I totally didn't realize that, yes, the sponsors are great for so many things, not even just 12-step recovery programs, really. Yeah. So I found my home and I love to do service. And I mean, I've gotten so many gifts from recovery programs. The people I've met alone, the fellowship was the big one because I was in a different country. I didn't have a community. All my family's back in Canada. So alone. So having these people that don't judge me and I can be vulnerable with them and they're not going to go and gossip behind my back or use it against me like I used to all my life, How do you, learning to trust again and just walking into the room and, what was my favorite saying? We will love you until you learn to love yourself. That is such a huge thing.
That got me hooked on my very first meeting.
I mean,
and quite honestly, I thought it was a sales pitch at first, which it was, to save my life and to change my life or to save your life.
Yeah. I thought the slogans were so cheesy. I was like, what? Okay.
Yeah,
them through my life, my grandparents or great grandparents, like, oh man, that's so cheesy. Oh my God, the slogans are amazing. All the slogans that we use. And
I use them all day long now.
My kids started using them. I actually want to write. I've started writing a children's book and the slogans and I want to get them to draw the pictures and stuff. I have all these ideas,
Oh, that would be cool. If we can.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Together can help you with that, please let us know. That would be.
I would love to. I would love to write children's recovery because there's not many out there. And you have Alateen, but what about the Alatots? What about the kids,
Alatots, I love that.
Yeah. I mean, I was a stay-at-home mom. All I had was these phone meetings and I'm feeding my babies and trying to do this as I'm trying to save my sanity, So thank goodness for all of that. So yeah, I got my Alatots in the background. I'm trying to share while they're screaming and no one cares because we're all just trying to heal and do this journey together,
Yeah.
I mean, I used to chair 5 meetings a week.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I would prepare for them too. I had to get readings and prepare my topics and, all that. I did a journal meeting. I did a beginner's meeting. I did a Tuesday togetherness. I did, topic meetings. I did series too. I was deep in it, heavy into it. And then I wanted to go into ACA. But I needed Al-Anon first because that was my immediate need with my husband at the time and my kids, After 3 years in Al-Anon, I had to leave my husband because he became dangerous. The last week of our marriage, I carried a baseball bat around the house with me.
Wow.
Like, I lived in fear of this man for years, but it got to the point where, yes, I had to carry a baseball bat in my own home. I'm like, this is no way for me to live. This is no way for my children to live. It is my responsibility as their parent to not have them in this dangerous situation. The cops had been called on him in 3 different states. He'd had DUIs in 3 different states, And so, after we tried to, so we lived in Alabama. And then he got transferred to Georgia. So we moved to Georgia. We had this 4,200 square foot mansion. I call it my mansion. It was beautiful. Beautiful. Way too big, though.
Sounds beautiful. Sounds like a lot to clean.
It was awful. It was an awful experience. He lived in the basement, basically, drunk the whole time. We were only there for 10 months. And I lived upstairs with the kids and tried to invite him up for stuff and birthdays and dinners. He missed everything. Alcohol won everything, And it got to the point where he was falling and he was like, his head was getting split open and he couldn't eat, nothing. He just drank all the time. He couldn't even walk. He lost his job, 20-year career. And finally I said, I'm taking you to the hospital. And I said, you have no choice, and he detoxed there. I said, let's move to Texas. Let's go back where your family is and they'll help us,
Right.
But it didn't work out. Nobody was aware of the problem. So it was a shock for everybody. And so they had to first accept that. I've been living in it for years. We had been living in it for years. So,
right.
So 3 years ago, I took our kids and I drove back to Alabama and started fresh. And he's been sober 2 years now. He's been back and trying to get that relationship going with the kids again. It's been very good, actually. I'm very proud of him.
Awesome.
It's been hard with 3 young kids, though, all alone. My family's in Canada. I didn't know if I could find a job where I could support my kids. I had no idea. I lived in my friend's basement for 6 months, looked for a job, found an apartment.
Awesome.
And for 3 years, I've been a single mom raising my 3 kids. And he's come back in the picture about a year now, and he got a job and he sees them twice a month, and it seems to be going quite well, But he doesn't practice his program, that's on him and his higher power. He's back to being a workaholic, but hey, we all have our addictions, right?
Right.
We all do. I just try to make healthier ones. And I'm just very glad that they have their dad. I'm glad they have a sober dad. I don't know him as a sober man, so I'm glad for them that they get that. Because they deserve it, and he deserves it too. He is a great guy, Hey, I did fall in love with him, So there was something about him I loved, and even when we were going through the divorce, we both were like, it's so bittersweet because it's not what we wanted. No one wants that. It's just like no one wakes up and says, I'm going to be an addict. I want to be addicted to something.
No.
No one wakes up saying I want to abuse children or I want, any of that. It just. We make bad choices and sometimes other things conquer us that we can't control. And that's why we need recovery. That's why a lot of people need other people as well.
Right.
That's why I love about these programs are the we-ness. I don't have to do this alone because there's no way I could do this alone. Not with 3 kids. It's hard enough doing what I do with as I do other stuff. But I practice service. The fellowship is huge. Every day I talk to recovery people. They're in my back pocket. They're my they're my friends every day. I may not see them because they are so far away. But I
am a recovery group, I call.
Yes, I have a little group of people we text every day, like, hey, even remind each other to eat, or did you exercise today, or how's that thing you were working on last week, or The fellowship is huge for me. I'm an
Yeah.
extrovert, and I got to be out there.
Right.
The literature is amazing, all the different literature. Every time I walk into a new meeting and I see a reading, I'm like, wow, this is fantastic. What is this from? I don't even know what it's from, and I'm just loving it. Because we're going towards the same goal, living that life of serenity and not living in guilt and shame for the past or other people's decisions, not feeling responsible for other people's decisions.
Yes.
Because my mom had such high expectations of me, so I have that critical parent, always, you're not good enough and you'll never be a good parent, and parenting's hard already, so you're your own worst critic anyway. But recovery's taught me it's okay. I can make amends to my kids. I can make mistakes. They need to see that too. No one is perfect. I don't want them to think that they have to be perfect, or do things perfectly. I want them to see I'm I'm a regular person that makes mistakes too, what is normal. Right. But I love helping people. I wish I had more of me, when I did the newcomers meetings, and when I go to like an ACA meeting, there's 100 people in it. I just want to help everybody, because there's so much out there.
Right.
And there's so many of us. And I love it. It's great. I go to a meeting every day, and I look forward to seeing my people every day and hearing their voices, even if they're having a hard time. I want to be there for them because I know they'll be there for me.
Right.
And I'm teaching my kids recovery, even through just osmosis,
Right.
It's my life. It's part of my life. It's the way I live. So they live it too.
Right. It's recovery by example.
It really is.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to be able to express themselves and not have to hide their feelings. I grew up, it's not okay to cry. My mom, I can't talk to you when you're crying. Come back when you're not. And that's hurtful because I'm a very...
Or turn the other cheek is a good one too.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I'm definitely where I'm supposed to be. And my journey changes all the time. Like I said, I used to chair 5 meetings a week. Well, that changed. I can't do it anymore. I'm into studies. I do step studies. I run step studies, and I do sponsor people as well. And every sponsee is different. Everyone's in a different part of their journey, and it teaches me, getting back to basics, sponsoring really helped me because it helps just keep me focused on what the basics are of the program, because I have to tell them how to focus. I have to refocus them when they're going off on a tangent. And it reminds me of how I was and how much I've progressed. Because man, I remember I used to say those things and I used to act that way. Stop doing that. You're not supposed to do that, kind of thing. Right?
Right. Exactly.
And it reminds me not to give advice and listen, really listen. Wow.
Yeah. That's the key about being a sponsor or even an outreach buddy is just to listen.
Well, and I haven't had a sponsor in 3 years. In ACA, we kind of sponsor each other. I find that every meeting I go to on a regular basis, all the Alapals I talk to on a daily basis, they're like my little sponsors because they're the ones I go to when I'm trying to reason things out, or I have a question, or just a concern, or I'm having an emotion I can't explain. You can reason that with them. They're like, oh, maybe you're feeling this. I'm like, there it is. I couldn't think of the word, or I couldn't grasp what it was. And other people, that's their experience, strength, and hope. We're just constantly sharing it with each other, and not even about recovery. Like a couple of them just moved. Now we're, hey, 12 step on the new house. You can 12 step anything, right?
Right.
I 12 step myself all the time. So, but I could just talk and talk and talk. I call ACA my light bulb program because there's tons of light bulbs just always going on, just realizations and acceptance and awareness. Awareness is the big one.
Right. Exactly.
I can't imagine without recovery. I have to say that I would not have had the courage to leave a dangerous situation without recovery.
Amen.
And I hate to think if I'd been a statistic, I hate to think of what might have happened if I didn't have that courage or that fellowship of people that were so
Right.
strong, not telling me what to do, but just supporting me no matter what I decided to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I lost a lot of regular friends that aren't in recovery because they were telling me what to do. You got to leave your husband. You got to leave your husband, you know. You can't do
They're
this.
all experts.
Well, for sure, right? For
But
sure.
they're not living. Yeah, they're not living what you're living with.
They're not. And that's like everyone was so shocked when my parents split up. But they weren't living there in the chaos and the turmoil that they were. Of course, in front of everybody, they looked like the perfect couple.
Of
You know,
course.
just like my, in-laws, they thought we had the perfect marriage. And lo and behold, no, there was no perfection. But you see all around you in recovery, you can see how many sick people there are and how sick you are. And I'm able to admit that, which I'm glad. Because, I'm working on it. Always working on it.
That is awesome. That is really awesome.
I just, I tell everyone, you keep coming back because we're all worth it. We all are worth it. We're worth having a better life. Every day, I teach my kids, make today a better day. Don't make it worse. Whatever you can do, make the situation better, because there's enough ugliness out there. There's enough bad people. There's enough people out there that make bad decisions and choose a bad way of treating others. Let's not be part of that. Let's spread kindness and warmth and goodness and brightness and hope. One of the readings today was hope. I had so much hope for so many things, and it's changed for what I've hoped for, but it's okay. I'm very happy with what I have, and I'm grateful, and I can be grateful now. And I don't have to wish for what I don't have, which, it's such a blessing. It's such a relief, to not have that pressure on yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's okay that we fall because we'll get back up again.
Right. And what I like about the rooms, and I think you can agree with me, these rooms are designed to be a safe place to fall.
Yes.
And nobody's going to laugh at you. Nobody's going to point fingers. It's not going to end up on the front page of the news the next day.
Definitely. When it comes to emotional sobriety, I can say I probably relapse every day, so.
Oh, yeah, me too.
If I have a day where I don't relapse, it's like, woohoo, I'm ready. It's going to happen tomorrow. I just know it.
Exactly.
But I can get over it better and easier. I can, and I can laugh it off, I don't have to beat myself up anymore. It's not, life is full of stumbling blocks, and we just have to pick her. Yeah.
And we put enough in our path. We don't need other people putting a bit there too.
This roller coaster, I'm telling you, I always loved roller coasters. As I'm getting older, I don't know if I'd actually get on one again, but life is
I'm more of a log ride kind of guy.
Yeah.
That's with the big flash at the end. That's it.
Yeah. Recovery's part of my life, and it always will be. And I just keep meeting more and more wonderful people and venturing into more adventures, like doing things like this. I love it. I just want to do more and more. Like I said, I want to write some books. I want to keep going,
That would be awesome. I would definitely buy your books.
All right.
You got one sold.
I just have to find more time. I have to find more time, or make more time, I should say.
You have 24 hours just like the rest of us.
I know. Who needs sleep, right? Sleep's for the weak.
Yeah. You can get by on 15, 20 minutes of sleep, right?
Little naps here and there. I have to learn how to power nap. No, I love sleeping. People are like, get up early and have your God time. I'm like, no, God lets me sleep. God knows I want some sleep. So I think I'm better off that way.
Right. Well, Mandy, man, I can't even talk. I'm sorry. Mandy, It's been awesome having you today. This is great.
Thank you.
One thing I wanted to touch on, and I don't know if you did, you might have, is can you explain what Emotions Anonymous is? Because I didn't even know that existed till I met you.
It's a great program too. When I first moved back here 3 years ago, I was chairing one meeting a week in the morning because they have micro meetings, and I just stumbled across it. I don't even remember how. I think I was just looking up emotions, and it came, when emotional, and then I was like, so it's basically it's a 12-step program based on the AA steps, and it's just dealing with your emotions that you just can't, you're so overwhelmed by, and it's any kind of emotion, really. And I loved it because emotions were running my life. Like every decision I made was emotional, which is not healthy. And, say like I made dinner and dinner was ruined. My emotions would just overtake and I'd be done for the rest of the day. And even the next day I would just lament over this ruined dinner. Right. And so, it's when your emotions you can't live your regular life, and you have to learn how to 12-step your emotions, basically, is my words.
Right.
So a lot of people.
Oh, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. Yeah.
In Emotions Anonymous, because we do have some people, i.e. me, but other people in the programs that do suffer from emotional eating. Does that get touched on in Emotions Anonymous?
Yeah, actually, I remember when I was going, you get to know friendly voices and the same people that come in. Yeah, some people, they deal with emotions with their food eating. And same with ACA. ACA has actually food meetings as well. So adult children take their adult children traits out with food. Oh yeah. Same with decluttering. There's an ACA declutter meeting I go to once a week because I'm a hoarder and I clutter. And so what we do is we talk about a goal we want to finish. We play music. We do our decluttering. It could be electronic. It could be doing the dishes. It could be running an errand. It could be anything. So we support each other in that matter, and we 12-step our clutter, So yeah, there's just my eyes are just the doors that are all available to us, the windows that are open. But so yeah, Emotions Anonymous, it's a really great program. They have a great daily reader as well, and they have a blue book, just like the AA blue book, and it has everything. Yeah. And then they have a lot of meetings, electronic meetings, and they have yearly conventions as well, and events that go on. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. See, and you have people that come in, they have mental problems as well. So their mental and their emotions. A lot of people have even just different kinds of disorders, like they can't leave the house, So you get a good variety in Emotions Anonymous of a lot of different.
I need to check that out myself.
Yeah, I'll send you some info too. And it would just even go to the website, meeting listing.
I want to put it on my page too.
Yeah, definitely. I love it. I love it. It's really a great program because everybody's welcome as well. It's for everybody, Same with this open AA group, I just love going because they have great readings, and it helps me understand and be more compassionate towards my ex so we can co-parent better. So I stay on my lane, don't pick up those ropes. I don't cause any extra turmoil that has nothing to do with our past, like I let the past in the past. I still have resentments, of course, but I don't take them out on him because there's nothing he can do about them. It's mine, my stuff. I've learned that my stuff's mine, his is his, and yeah, staying in recovery helps.
We cannot control somebody else.
Exactly.
As much as we want to, we can't.
Well, as a parent, that's hard. There's a balance. Am I teaching or am I controlling? So I have to be careful. I have to watch myself when it comes to my kids. I do have to let them have a little bit of lenience and not try and, everything. Because my mom was like that. Everything had to be done so with her.
Right. Well, Mandi, this has been great. I can't wait to get this out. This is going to be awesome. I've been waiting all week to hear this story. Because in the HEAR meeting, and actually, did you want to talk about the HEAR meeting real quick?
Yeah, I can talk about the HEAR meeting, which I'm sad I missed it this weekend because I actually have a social thing I'm going to. I never go out, so I'm actually going out with a girlfriend. But the HEAR meeting stands for Hope, Experience, Awareness.
Awareness or
acceptance and recovery.
Yes.
And it's once a month, and it's through an open AA group, AASG. Right. And it's usually it always lasts the 2 hours. I'm telling you, it always lasts those 2 hours. I can't remember. I think it's 7
people.
It's all recoveries, all 12-step recoveries. We usually have 3 speakers. We try to get 3 from 3 different 12-step programs. Right. And anyone who wants to speak is more than welcome. I want to start advertising more because there's quite a few we haven't heard from yet, because not a lot of people are involved in like Gamblers Anonymous, or, like even I'd like to get an Emotions Anonymous person in there too. So it just helps us really understand each other's programs and what the other sides are going through, especially when it comes to AA and NA, because they're the addicts themselves, and then the others are addicted to them, or they've been affected by their addiction. So it just
Right.
really, and a lot of AA people have told me they're so thankful for it, because it really teaches them, and they get to see the other side, and they get to hear the other side that they don't get to see. Yeah. So it's really great.
Awesome. Well, Mandi, it's been a real pleasure having you on, getting to know you. It's been awesome. I know I was going to ask, how many years have you been in recovery?
Well, I had my 5-year in October, so yeah.
Congratulations. That's
Thank
a lot
you.
of hard work.
It's been great. I really love it. I love it. I love my work. I love my recovery. I love volunteer work anyway. So, and I love helping other people. It's,
That's
spread
what
the
I
word.
love about people getting to is the service work. Like doing this fires me up. Getting these stories out.
Definitely. I mean, I was so nervous before this, but this is great. This is such a comfortable
I
setting.
knew you were going to be awesome. I knew it.
Thank you. I just never know which direction to go in, but everyone's like, higher power will show you the direction. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, when I speak too, I don't usually have a whole lot of notes because I don't remember to read them anyways.
I write like a novel, and then I just it's at the side. It's like my comfort blanket. It's here. I may look at it, but it's there.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks, Mandi. I really appreciate having you on tonight, and I look forward to trudging the road with you in recovery.